The courthouse was buzzing with tension, the kind of tension that makes fans freeze mid-scroll, wondering what disaster was about to unfold. Yella Beezy, normally calm and collected in public, was caught completely off guard, and within minutes, the atmosphere erupted into chaos. Rumors had been swirling for weeks about clashes behind the scenes, but nobody expected this level of explosive confrontation. Mo3’s crew, notorious for their loyalty and street reputation, appeared unexpectedly, and the second they stepped through the doors, emotions ran hotter than anyone could anticipate. Cameras flashed relentlessly, whispers turned into shouted accusations, and what was supposed to be a routine court appearance transformed into a full-blown spectacle. Fans are shocked across social media, scrambling to post every clip of heated exchanges, unable to believe the intensity of the moment. Security tried desperately to maintain order, but the raw energy in the room made it nearly impossible. Friends and family were left divided, exchanging frantic texts and urgent calls, while the courtroom itself felt more like a battlefield than a place for justice. Accusations flew like daggers, voices cracked with anger and fear, and the tension was electric, unpredictable, and impossible to ignore. By the time the judge tried to intervene, the drama had already taken over, leaving everyone wondering how this could get any worse. The tension in the courtroom was palpable, like a storm about to break, and Yella Beezy could feel it in his bones. He had been through confrontations before, but nothing prepared him for what was about to unfold. As he sat at the defense table, shuffling through papers with his lawyer, whispers started circulating. Mo3’s crew had been spotted entering the building. He looked up, his eyes narrowing, sensing that this day was about to spiral out of control. The doors swung open, and there they were, moving with an intensity that made security shift nervously. Fans online were already live-streaming, the clips spreading across Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok within minutes. The tension was viral before anyone could blink. "Beezy, you didn't think this would be easy, did you?" One of Mo3’s crew members hissed, his voice low but sharp, cutting through the hushed murmurs of the courtroom. Yella Beezy's jaw tightened. He knew this wasn't just about the case anymore. This was personal. The energy in the room shifted from routine legal procedure to something raw, unpredictable, and dangerous. People were holding their phones up, recording, but even the cameras couldn't capture the full intensity, the fear, the anger, the adrenaline. The judge's gavel barely hit the desk before the first eruption happened. "Order! Order in the court!" the judge shouted, but it was almost comical how futile the words felt against the storm brewing in front of him. Mo3’s crew was standing firm, their presence alone intimidating everyone nearby. Yella Beezy's lawyer leaned in, whispering urgently, "We need to de-escalate this, now." But it was too late. Words turned into shouting matches. "You think you can step in here and disrespect what's ours?" One of Mo3’s crew yelled, pointing directly at Beezy. The courtroom gasped, cameras shaking as reporters tried to capture the explosive moment. Fans watching from home were already commenting in disbelief. "Yo, Beezy about to get popped in court. This is insane." The courtroom looks like a war zone. The viral energy fed itself, each clip gaining thousands of views in minutes, and the pressure on Beezy's shoulders mounted. He stood up, fists clenched, trying to maintain composure while the adrenaline surged. "I didn't start this," he shouted, his voice firm but shaking slightly. "Keep your distance." But the crew wasn't backing down. Their eyes were locked on him like predators, and the tension could be felt across the entire room. Suddenly, someone in the gallery shouted something, and it triggered a ripple effect. Family members from both sides started yelling over each other. "Don't disrespect him. He's lying." The room became a cacophony of voices, emotions, and fear. Security rushed forward, trying to separate individuals, but even their presence wasn't enough to fully calm the situation. "Everyone needs to sit down now," a bailiff yelled, but the chaos had already taken root. The energy was contagious. Even those who weren't directly involved could feel it. Friends of Beezy were texting frantically, urging him to stay calm. "Bro, don't do anything rash," one message read. But in the middle of it all, the personal stakes were too high for him to just sit quietly. Mo3's crew stepped closer, their swagger and confidence filling the room. "You think the spotlight only shines on you?" One of them sneered, and a hush fell over the spectators. The tension was electric, crackling like static. Beezy's eyes darted around, noticing the cameras capturing every movement, every tense look, every micro-expression. He knew the world was watching, and any misstep could explode across social media in seconds. "This is ridiculous," he muttered, more to himself than anyone else, but the words were swallowed by the growing storm. A sudden exchange of words triggered a minor scuffle near the back of the courtroom. Chairs scraped, papers flew, and everyone froze for a second, realizing how close the situation was to turning violent. "Security," the judge barked, banging the gavel harder, but the authority felt hollow against the raw emotional tension. The crew laughed under their breath, and Beezy could feel his own pulse quicken. He had to make a decision: confront or stay composed. The stakes weren't just legal anymore. They were personal, public, and intensely emotional. Fans online were dissecting every frame, every word, every twitch of Beezy's expression. "He's shaking," one comment read. "Mo3's crew looks crazy," another typed. Every viewer felt like they were part of the chaos, and the viral nature of the moment added another layer of pressure. Even the family members in the courtroom were divided. Some tried to calm the situation, whispering, "Stay calm, don't rise to it," while others fanned the flames, shouting, "Tell them how it is." The courtroom had become a microcosm of the larger drama surrounding both artists, and the energy was unmatched. Then, out of nowhere, one of Mo3's crew stepped right up to Beezy, inches away, and said, "You've been talking too much behind our backs. Time to face it." Beezy swallowed hard, feeling the weight of the moment. "I'm not running," he shot back, his voice steady, but his hands betraying slight tremors. The words hung in the air, heavy and combustible. Security rushed in, forming a barrier, but the tension didn't dissipate. It only grew, spreading to spectators, reporters, and even the judge. Every eye in the room followed the drama like a live wire, electric and dangerous. By this point, it was clear that this encounter was more than a legal matter. It was a clash of pride, respect, and street loyalty. The personal stakes were high, and every movement was scrutinized. The murmurs in the courtroom turned into whispers of disbelief. "Did you see that? This is going viral for sure." Even attorneys were glancing nervously, knowing that this case had just become a spectacle far beyond their control. Beezy's heart raced, knowing that the next few minutes could define more than just the outcome of the court proceedings. They could define reputations, alliances, and street credibility. As the tension simmered, Beezy's eyes met those of Mo3's crew leader, a silent understanding passing between them. Neither wanted an actual fight in the courthouse, but pride made compromise impossible. The family members of both sides were holding their breaths, caught in a whirlwind of fear, anger, and anticipation. Friends whispered frantic advice through the chaos. "Stay calm, or this blows up even more." But the room itself felt like it was on the verge of exploding, and every camera, every phone, every witness was capturing the moment. Social media users had already dubbed it the Courthouse Showdown, and clips were trending within minutes. By the end of the session, nothing had truly been resolved. The judge called for a brief recess, hoping to regain some semblance of order, but everyone knew the tension was far from over. Beezy retreated with his lawyer, sweat on his brow, adrenaline still coursing through his veins. Mo3's crew lingered, their eyes still fixed on him, sending a silent message. This wasn't done. Fans were left in disbelief, clips circulating faster than ever, replaying every tense exchange, every subtle gesture, and every raised voice. The drama had just begun, and no one could predict what would happen next. The courthouse hallway felt like a battlefield as Yella Beezy stepped out for the brief recess, his mind racing faster than his heartbeat. Cameras were everywhere, flashes lighting up the corridor like a storm of electricity. Reporters shouted questions, trying to catch every word, but Beezy barely registered them. He could still feel the intensity from Mo3's crew lingering in the courtroom, the weight of their presence pressing on him even from a distance. Every step he took echoed, and every whisper in the hall seemed like a direct warning. Fans watching from home were glued to live streams, commenting furiously. This is insane. Beezy about to snap. Courtroom drama turned street drama. Social media was a wildfire, and there was no turning back. His lawyer kept a steady hand on his shoulder, murmuring, "Stay calm. Keep it professional. Nothing here is worth escalating." Beezy nodded, but his mind was spinning. The energy from the courtroom wasn't gone. It had followed him out. He could still see the crew's leader in his mind, that cold stare daring him to respond, to make a mistake. "I can't just let that slide," he muttered under his breath, eyes narrowing. Friends texted frantic advice. "Don't do anything rash. The cameras are watching. Don't give them what they want." But pride and fear were battling inside him. Meanwhile, Mo3's crew huddled together in a corner of the hallway, whispering rapidly. "He's shaking," one of them said, a grin creeping across his face. "But don't think he's weak. He's smart, he just thinks he can play cool." The crew leader, eyes fixed on Beezy from across the hall, shook his head slightly. "This isn't over. Not by a long shot. We're sending a message today." The tension was palpable, and the courthouse staff exchanged nervous glances, unsure how to contain a situation that had escalated beyond reason. Back in the courtroom, the judge was trying to regain control, banging the gavel with renewed urgency. "Order. This is a legal proceeding, not a street fight." But the words felt hollow, almost laughable, against the backdrop of simmering rage and anticipation. Spectators whispered furiously, some cheering quietly for Beezy, others for Mo3's crew, as if the courtroom had become a live arena for fans to pick sides. One aunt in the gallery whispered, "I never thought I'd see this in my lifetime," while a cousin muttered, "This is way more than court drama. This is personal." Beezy returned to his seat, trying to steady himself, while Mo3's crew resumed their positions near the back. Every eye in the room followed them like predators circling prey. The murmurs escalated into full-blown conversations, gossip flying faster than the judge could restore order. "They're not leaving," one reporter whispered into a mic. "This is about respect, loyalty, and old beefs that nobody thought would explode here." Beezy's lawyer leaned over, whispering advice on strategy, but even legal words couldn't calm the storm of raw emotion. Then it happened. A voice from the gallery shouted, "You're scared, Beezy. Admit it." Gasps filled the room. Beezy's head snapped toward the sound, his eyes blazing. "I'm not scared," he yelled, the tension cracking through his voice. "You're the ones who don't belong here." Mo3's crew laughed under their breath, enjoying the drama as if it were a carefully staged performance. Friends and family held their breaths, unsure if Beezy would keep control or let the anger explode. Social media exploded with clips of the confrontation, fans debating endlessly. "He's losing it. He's holding his ground. This is bigger than music. It's life and respect." The judge called for another recess, trying desperately to regain order. But each pause seemed only to fuel the fire. The crew huddled again, whispering strategies, while Beezy's friends and advisors tried to do the same. The courthouse was a chessboard of tension, every movement calculated, every gesture loaded with meaning. A cousin leaned over to Beezy and muttered, "You need to stay calm. This could go viral, and not in a good way if you lose control." Beezy nodded, but his eyes betrayed the storm inside him. As the session resumed, the real tension began. Mo3's crew began whispering directly to Beezy, words barely audible over the murmurs of the room. "You think you're untouchable," one sneered, "but today's the day you learn otherwise." Beezy's hands clenched into fists under the table. "I don't play games with people like you," he muttered, voice low but fierce. Spectators leaned forward, phones recording every nuance, every subtle threat, every micro-expression. The drama wasn't just being observed, it was being dissected, shared, and amplified in real time across the internet. Then, an unexpected twist. A family member from Mo3's side suddenly stood up, shouting, "Back off. This is ridiculous." The sudden intervention caught everyone off guard, creating a temporary pause. Beezy's team glanced at each other, surprised by the support that wasn't anticipated. Mo3's crew hesitated, their leader frowning. The momentary disruption caused a ripple of uncertainty in the room, giving Beezy a fleeting chance to regain composure. "Thank you," he whispered to the family member, though the words barely reached beyond his own lips. The tension reignited almost immediately. A loud argument broke out near the back of the courtroom as another crew member accused someone of lying. Chairs scraped, papers flew, and the room trembled with the intensity of the verbal battle. Security rushed in again, forming a human barrier between the two sides, but the emotions were too raw to be contained. Fans watching online were shouting in the comments, "This is pure chaos. Courtroom or war zone? Beezy better not lose his cool." The situation had become a spectacle far beyond the legal dispute. It was now a story of pride, respect, and street loyalty playing out live. At one point, Beezy rose to his feet, looking directly at Mo3's crew. "I came here for court, not for theatrics. But I won't be disrespected," he said firmly. The crew leader stepped forward, almost smiling. "We respect what you do, but respect is earned," he replied, his tone sharp. The room went silent for a split second before murmurs spread again, the air thick with anticipation. The family members exchanged nervous glances, knowing the next few moments could define more than the outcome of the legal proceedings. They could define reputations, alliances, and legacies. Then came a shocking twist. One of Mo3's crew discreetly signaled someone from the audience, who stepped forward and handed a folded note directly to Beezy. The room gasped. Everyone wanted to know what it said, but the contents were private. Beezy's eyes flicked over the note, a flicker of surprise and concern crossing his face. He looked at his lawyer, who leaned in, whispering, "Don't react publicly, just stay calm." But the seed of curiosity and uncertainty had been planted in everyone present, fans and family alike. The drama wasn't just visible, it was deeply personal, layered with hidden messages and tension no one could fully predict. As the session came to a temporary close, Beezy's gaze met the crew leaders one last time. No words were exchanged, but the silent challenge was loud enough for everyone to hear. This wasn't over. Fans watching from home were already dissecting the body language, captioning the interactions, and speculating on future clashes. The courthouse had become a stage, the participants actors in a live drama that blurred the line between reality and spectacle. Social media buzzed, and the stakes were higher than ever. Every tweet, every clip, every reaction fueled the ongoing tension, making it clear that today's events would be remembered long after the gavel fell. The courthouse doors closed behind Yella Beezy as he stepped back into the hallway, but the storm inside hadn't settled. Every step echoed, and the adrenaline still coursed through his veins. He could hear the faint murmurs of Mo3's crew lingering in the distance, their presence a constant reminder that nothing about this day would be ordinary. Friends and family hovered close, their voices a mix of reassurance and panic. "Stay calm. Bro, don't let them bait you," one whispered, while another muttered, "This is bigger than court. This is respect, pride, everything." Beezy nodded, but inside, a whirlwind of frustration, fear, and anger raged. Meanwhile, Mo3's crew gathered in a tight huddle near the end of the hall, their whispers sharp and calculated. "He thinks he can walk in here like he owns it," one said, eyes scanning Beezy's retreating form. The leader's face was stone cold, a smirk barely hiding behind clenched teeth. Today isn't about the law. It's about sending a message, and he's about to hear it. Their energy was magnetic, drawing attention from every corner. Even the courthouse staff felt it. The room no longer just a place of legal procedure, but a battlefield of ego, street code, and viral spectacle. Inside the courtroom, the judge tried desperately to regain order, banging the gavel repeatedly. "Order. Everyone, I mean it." But the words were like whispers against a hurricane. Spectators leaned forward, some holding their phones up to capture every nuance of the ongoing standoff. The tension was thick, crackling in the air, a storm no legal authority could calm. One aunt muttered nervously, I can't believe I'm seeing this. This is insanity. A cousin next to her whispered, "It's like watching a live fight, but with words and eyes." Every gesture, glance, and subtle movement was dissected and amplified, both inside the courthouse and across social media. Beezy's lawyer leaned in again, whispering urgent advice. "Focus on the proceedings. Nothing here is worth a fight. Your reputation, your career, your freedom, all of it could unravel if this escalates." Beezy nodded, but the pulse of tension ran through his veins like fire. He could feel the eyes of Mo3’s crew on him, waiting for a reaction, hunting for any sign of weakness. Every whisper, every shuffle of paper, every cough from the gallery felt like a provocation. Friends sent frantic messages. "Stay in control. They're trying to bait you." But the line between control and pride was razor-thin. Then, unexpectedly, one of Mo3’s crew stepped into the aisle, his eyes locked on Beezy. The spectators froze. The room seemed to shrink, as if time itself was holding its breath. "Beezy," he said, voice low but carrying across the courtroom. "You think you can just walk in here and ignore what's been done?" Beezy's jaw tightened. He responded firmly, "I'm here for court, not theatrics. Keep your distance." The crew member smirked, a flicker of amusement in his eyes, before retreating back to the group. The brief confrontation left the room trembling with tension, spectators whispering, phones capturing every second. Fans online exploded with comments. "Did you hear that? This is insane. Beezy about to pop off." Family members tried to intervene, but even their voices were drowned in the storm. "Please don't escalate," one shouted. "This isn't the place for it." But the crew's presence and the raw energy they brought made the situation feel like it was teetering on the edge of chaos. Chairs scraped, murmurs escalated, and even security looked uneasy. The courthouse wasn't just a venue for justice anymore. It was a stage for a live spectacle of tension, loyalty, and unspoken challenges. Suddenly, a new twist. One of Mo3’s crew handed a folded note discreetly to another member, who glanced toward Beezy. The audience in the courtroom didn't notice, but those paying attention sensed a silent escalation. Beezy, unaware at first, later caught a hint of movement and tensed. He had no idea what message was being exchanged, but instinctively, he knew it was dangerous. His lawyer whispered again, "Don't engage. This is not a part of the case." But the raw, personal stakes couldn't be ignored. Pride, reputation, respect, all of it demanded attention. The courtroom tension grew as a minor argument broke out between two spectators in the gallery, each taking sides. One yelled, "Beezy, don't back down," while another shouted, "They're right. Don't let him walk over you." The sound rippled through the room, igniting further whispers and uneasy glances. Friends texted Beezy frantically, "Ignore them. Stay focused." But the sensory overload, the eyes, the words, the cameras, was almost impossible to filter out. Social media users were live tweeting, uploading clips, dissecting every gesture. Beezy's hand trembled. Mo3 crew looks untouchable. This is bigger than any music feud. Then came an emotional confrontation. One of Beezy's family members, frustrated and protective, yelled, "Enough! Don't let them intimidate you like this." The words cut through the room, echoing off the walls. Mo3's crew smirked, but didn't respond aggressively. They were enjoying the psychological edge, the raw tension. Beezy's hands shook slightly under the table, but his eyes hardened. "I'm not afraid," he whispered to his lawyer. "But this has to end without bloodshed." The words were almost lost amid the murmurs, but the message was clear. He intended to protect himself, his family, and his reputation. A sudden interruption came from a security guard who signaled for everyone to stay calm. "Please step back," he shouted. But even his authority seemed secondary to the energy in the room. Mo3's crew relaxed slightly, but the tension never dissipated. Everyone could sense the volatility. The room felt like a live wire, every second holding the potential to ignite further chaos. Spectators leaned in, cameras rolling, their attention captured by the ongoing spectacle. Fans online were analyzing every movement, creating memes, and debating who won the psychological battle. Then the unthinkable happened. One of the crew members stepped unexpectedly toward the gallery, pointing at a journalist. "You're recording too much. Take that camera down," he demanded. The journalist froze, camera shaking slightly in their hands. Beezy noticed, tension coiling tighter in his chest. "Back off," he shouted, voice cutting across the room. The crew member paused, smirk fading slightly, realizing that Beezy was standing his ground. The room held its breath, the energy thick with anticipation. Even the judge looked momentarily stunned at the audacity and intensity of the confrontation. As the session neared a temporary end, Beezy's lawyer whispered instructions. "Stick to the facts. Control the narrative. Don't give them power over the story outside this courtroom." Beezy nodded, but his mind raced. The emotional roller coaster had pushed him to the edge, and every subtle glance, every word, every smirk felt like a provocation. Fans online debated endlessly. Beezy is calm, but inside he's boiling. Mo3 crew is testing him. This is history in the making, right in the courthouse. The drama wasn't just for those present. It was now a global spectacle. By the time the gavel signaled a short recess, Beezy stepped out, his face a mix of exhaustion and resolve. Mo3's crew lingered, their eyes still fixed on him, silent but potent. Family members whispered warnings and encouragement, while friends and fans continued to dissect every moment online. The message was clear. Today's events were far from over, and every movement, word, and gesture carried weight. The stage was set, the players positioned, and the drama was escalating beyond anyone's control. The courtroom doors opened again, and Yella Beezy stepped inside with a mix of exhaustion and determination. The brief recess had done nothing to calm the tension. If anything, it had grown. Mo3's crew was already in position, standing tall and confident, their presence filling the room like a silent storm. Every spectator, every journalist, every family member could feel the electricity in the air. Fans online were already live-streaming, dissecting every frame, every step, every glance. "Beezy about to lose it," one comment read. "Mo3 crew looks untouchable," wrote another. Social media had become a magnifying glass, amplifying every moment of this volatile showdown. As the session began, one of the crew members leaned slightly toward Beezy and said, "You really thought you could come here and act like this was normal?" Beezy's eyes flashed. "I came for court, not to play games with you," he shot back, voice steady but edged with anger. The murmurs in the courtroom intensified. Family members whispered frantic warnings, "Don't rise to it." But the energy in the room was contagious. Security glanced nervously, unsure how to maintain order as the verbal sparring escalated. Then came a shocking twist. One of Mo3's crew members discreetly pulled out a folded note and handed it to the crew leader, who glanced directly at Beezy. The movement was subtle, almost imperceptible, but Beezy's instincts caught it. His jaw tightened. "What now?" he muttered, more to himself than anyone else. The note's contents were unknown to the courtroom, but the silent communication sent a ripple of tension across the room. Every whisper, every shift in posture, every subtle smirk became a signal, a challenge, a declaration of dominance. Beezy's lawyer leaned in, murmuring urgent advice. "Ignore it. Do not engage. Control the narrative." But even as he said it, Beezy could feel the weight of the moment pressing down. Pride, respect, loyalty, reputation, it all collided in an explosive mix that no amount of legal counsel could fully mitigate. Friends texted frantically, "Stay calm. The world is watching. Don't let them bait you." But the adrenaline, the fear, the raw emotional energy made it impossible to simply sit still. The judge attempted to restore order, banging the gavel repeatedly. "Order. Everyone. This is a legal proceeding." But the words barely registered. Spectators leaned forward, phones recording every nuance, every subtle expression. Family members exchanged nervous glances, unsure if this moment would end in resolution or chaos. One aunt whispered, "I can't believe this is happening." A cousin muttered, "It's like watching a war play out in slow motion." The courtroom had transformed into a stage, the actors performing a drama far beyond the scope of any legal procedure. Then, a heated argument erupted near the back of the room. Chairs scraped, papers flew, and the tension escalated. One of Mo3's crew shouted, "You've been talking too much behind our backs." Beezy's eyes narrowed. "I don't answer to you," he snapped. The room trembled with the intensity of the confrontation. Spectators gasped, journalists raised cameras, and fans online erupted. Beezy snapping, "This is insane." Courtroom chaos for the ages. Every word, every gesture, every glance was amplified, dissected, and debated across social media. Suddenly, a family member from Mo3's side shouted, "Enough! Back off." The brief interruption caused a ripple of uncertainty. Beezy's allies leaned closer, whispering strategies and warnings. The crew leader, momentarily distracted, gave a subtle nod to his team. "This isn't over," he muttered under his breath. The tension remained, thick and unyielding. Spectators held their breath, unsure if the next move would escalate into physical confrontation or resolve through words. Then came another shocking twist. A journalist, attempting to capture the perfect angle, accidentally dropped a camera bag. The noise echoed through the room like a gunshot. Both sides froze, tension crackling like static electricity. Beezy's eyes darted toward Mo3's crew, who smirked subtly, enjoying the psychological edge. The gallery whispered, phones recording, hearts racing. Fans online were already live commenting. "Did you see that?" Camera dropped tension. "This is insane. Bigger than any beef we've seen." Beezy's hands clenched under the table, but he forced himself to remain calm. "I came here for court," he muttered, voice low but firm, "not to feed anyone's ego." One of Mo3's crew laughed quietly, a sharp, almost sinister sound that reverberated through the room. "Court or not, respect is earned," he said, eyes locking on Beezy. The room went silent for a moment, everyone aware that these words carried far more weight than any legal argument. The stakes had become personal, emotional, and public. Family members tried desperately to mediate. "Please, let this end peacefully," one yelled. "Focus on the case, not the theatrics." But the crew's presence, combined with the raw emotional energy, made de-escalation nearly impossible. Friends texted Beezy continuously, "You've got this. Don't let them control the story." But the pressure was immense. Every word, every gesture, every glance could be interpreted as a challenge, a threat, or a provocation. The courthouse had become a live stage for a story that was being written in real time by every participant, every spectator, and every viewer online. Then came the final twist of the day. Mo3's crew leader stepped forward, pointing subtly at Beezy. "This is your warning. Don't underestimate what's at stake," he said, voice low but carrying across the room. Beezy's eyes locked on him, chest tight, adrenaline spiking. "Message received," he replied calmly, though inside, a storm raged. The family members held their breath. Friends whispered urgent encouragement. The cameras captured every heartbeat of the moment, every subtle shift in expression, every flicker of tension. As the session concluded for the day, the judge called for recess, but it was clear to everyone that this was far from over. Beezy exited the courtroom, his face a mix of exhaustion and resolve. Mo3's crew lingered, eyes fixed on him, silent but potent. The spectators, family members, and friends whispered anxiously, knowing they had witnessed only the opening act of a larger drama. Fans online were dissecting every detail, replaying clips, speculating endlessly. The story was far from over, and the next encounter promised to escalate even further. The courthouse had transformed into more than a place of law. It had become a theater of emotion, pride, and unspoken challenges. Every glance, every word, every gesture was now part of a narrative that would ripple through social media, music fans, and street communities alike. Beezy's reputation, The crew's loyalty and family dynamics had all collided into a spectacle that was impossible to ignore. The drama had reached a fever pitch, and everyone knew that when the next session began, the stakes would be higher than ever. As the courthouse emptied and the echoes of tension faded into whispers, one thing was clear: today's events would be remembered for years to come. Yella Beezy had stood his ground, his pride intact, but the encounter with Mo3’s crew left no one unaffected. Friends, family, and fans were left reeling, questioning what could happen next. Social media was flooded with clips, reactions, and endless debates, every comment dissecting Beezy's reactions, the crew's tactics, and the subtle gestures that carried volumes. Emotions ran high, alliances were tested, and the courthouse, once a place of law and order, had become a battleground of respect, reputation, and personal stakes. Fans are shocked, replaying the moments over and over. The tense exchanges, the subtle threats, the way Beezy's eyes never left the crew leaders. The family was left divided, some urging calm, others encouraging confrontation. Reporters were scrambling for angles, creating a narrative that blurred the line between reality and spectacle. And online, viewers debated endlessly. Who won this round? Was it Beezy's resilience or the crew's psychological dominance? The questions linger, unresolved, sparking speculation, drama, and anticipation for what comes next. Now, it's your turn to weigh in. What do you think will happen when Beezy and Mo3’s crew face off again? Will the next court session erupt even further, or will someone finally step back and de-escalate the tension? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and make sure to like this video if you were shocked by the courthouse chaos. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next chapter of this explosive saga. This story isn't over, and every new update promises more drama, more twists, and more jaw-dropping moments. Stay tuned because the streets, the courthouse, and the internet are watching. Every move, every word, every reaction.